everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm excited to lead our next session with Ashish Gupta and Dr. Runa Gupta of Vegancuts. We're going to talk about their business and how you can also build a subscription model business. Welcome, and thank you for joining us at the Vegancuts Summit.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you for having both of us.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here. It's an amazing opportunity, and we've enjoyed being part of it so far as well.
Awesome. Why don't we jump right in? Can the two of you talk about your business and how you started it and why?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can take this one. Well, Vegancuts is the longest standing vegan subscription company. We've been around for a decade now, and we have, by the way, we are a mission-based company. We really believe and support in the vegan movement. So we have 3 subscription boxes. We have the snack, the beauty, and the makeup box. And with this, the subscribers get to basically discover, the new and latest and best in the vegan products. We also have an online marketplace. So yeah, that's Vegancuts in a nutshell. And your second question is, how did we get started? Actually, it was started by a couple that was based in Canada, and they took a year off from their work and decided to travel. And so while they were traveling, they decided to chronicle all their sort of travels being vegan on a blog. And that's when they figured out, when they came back, they saw a lot of interest in sort of just leading a vegan lifestyle. And so they figured, how do we leverage this huge amount of interest that they're seeing? So they decided to open, a company and where they can actually provide some value to their audience. So that's how Vegancuts came to be. It was a subscription company, and then they had a vegan snack box. So, a few years later, they observed that most of their audience was really women. I think over 75% of the subscribers were women. So that's how the beauty box came to be. And, eventually it split into beauty and makeup separately. So the makeup just had cosmetics, and the beauty, personal care items. And then 2 years ago, Ashish and I acquired the company. So now, we're not the founders, but now we are part of the company.
Can you talk a little bit about your background? What led you to become an entrepreneur running this company now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe you can start first, Runa.
Okay.
By the way, we're in the same room, literally sitting next to each other. So it might look a little odd if I look over to Runa, who's here on my right.
Yeah, I think we've both had sort of an interesting way, or a sort of a little more of a unique career path. My background is as a scientist. I have a PhD in a specialized field in pharmacy called pharmacokinetics. It's kind of like a technically complex, mathematically intense field. And I worked at Genentech in drug development. So I think shortly after, while I was working there, I realized that for me to succeed, for me to do really well, that would require a lot of personal sacrifice, especially in terms of time, energy, and even years. So I think at the same time, I really had a strong intuitive feeling that if I was to put my energy into something and, put so much of myself, it had to be towards something that I was really driven by and passionate by. And even though at that time I was not sure what that was going to be, I decided to take a leap of faith, and I moved on from the industry. And kind of, didn't know what my next path was going to be, but was hoping that I could figure that out. Luckily, at the same time, an opportunity came up for Ashish and I to start an investment firm. And so I moved full time into that. And, fast forward a few years later, here I am at Vegancuts. So yeah, that's kind of been my journey. Maybe Ashish can talk about his.
Yeah, my journey, I guess, was also equally a little unique. I've been in tech most of my career. I previously was a co-founder, along with a friend of mine, of a wireless company, and we were doing something super complex. We were trying to send power through the air, wireless power, and that was my first entrepreneurial pursuit. It was amazingly difficult. We went through all the challenges that probably every entrepreneur faces in terms of there must have been 100 times where we felt like quitting. Things were just, it required an immense amount of perseverance. Eventually, we actually figured out something very unique. The company grew, it did really well, and then it was acquired by a Fortune 500, Qualcomm, in San Diego. And so after the acquisition, then that's when Runa and I started an investment firm, and we started investing in a bunch of different companies. In parallel to that, I also started working at Apple in Silicon Valley. I was in senior management there. That was an amazingly formative experience as well for me, to be in a company where there's such a defined culture, something that they've really thought through, and where you've got some of the best leaders in the world in that company, and to be able to absorb and learn from that. And I was in the iPhone team, which is probably one of the elite teams in Silicon Valley. So that was an amazing experience. At some point in that 5 years I was at Apple, I started getting that itch to get back on the entrepreneurial path again.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I typically know to go down the entrepreneurial path was to create something new. And I started thinking a lot. I started doing a lot of research. I started talking with a lot of different mentors that I have. And one of the mentors I have, he said that, well, have you ever thought about acquiring a business that already exists? I never even thought that was possible for an individual to do. It just, it never struck me as a possibility. And so I started really looking into it, learning all about the space of how do you acquire a business. And it was a long, arduous process. Firstly, having an intense full-time role like in management at Apple, and then secondly, over 2 years, we probably went through over 200 companies from all different spaces, from tech to fashion to eventually, I almost felt like at some point, I'm not finding anything that I resonate with, and it's taking so much time and effort, and that maybe it's the wrong path. Maybe I'm going down the wrong path. But just as I was about to quit, we came across Vegancuts, and as soon as I learned about Vegancuts, firstly, there was a gut reaction that, oh my God, there's something here that really aligns with who I am, with my own values. And then secondly, as I started really learning about what's happening in the demographics of the vegan space, it was just a very unique time where it is currently a very unique time where veganism is going from being niche to mainstream. And if things are done right, you can really do well in this space.
And I think the data also supported that for us, right? We just felt personally aligned with it, and the data, when we dug into it, just said this is the right fit. We're looking for something, mission-based or value-based for us to do our next venture for Ashish. And at the same time, I just felt like it was like, universe fit the pieces together perfectly for us.
Yeah, and it was a very natural decision to make, but one that was quite difficult, leaving a reasonably stable, comfortable, very high-paying job, lots of holidays, vacations, and then now working harder than ever in the last 2 years since we've been at Vegancuts, with no pay for a year and a half as we're trying to get the company to the next level. But it's been phenomenal experience. Anyways, long-winded answer from both of us, but hope that gives some perspective.
Yeah, and actually, I also wanted to add that when we came in, when we acquired the company, it was a distressed business. So even though we were aware of that, we thought it was still, there was something here, and something both, like we were saying, in what we wanted to pursue and already what Vegancuts had built, it was still worth us sort of taking this leap of faith and moving forward with the company.
Yeah, that was super insightful. I think it's interesting to think about the idea of acquiring an existing business, even if it's in distress, as opposed to reinventing the wheel. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, has your offering evolved? It sounds like it started out as a subscription only. You now also have a marketplace. How do you retain your customers? How do you go about finding customers? I know that subscription boxes can be a challenge. We've seen a few come and go. How are you approaching your business?
Yeah, many interesting questions there. Let's see, maybe I can start off with how do you acquire customers? So firstly, as a subscription box, you are a consumer-facing business. It's very different than like, let's say if you're a brand that's now trying to sell to distributors or trying to sell into retailers. We are a retailer, but so when you're a retailer, you have to really know who is the audience that you want to go after, and what are the ways that you can go after that audience. So if you know that your audience is X, where does that audience hang out? What are their lifestyles like? What are the ways that a company can interact with them? And so we've spent a lot of time, and actually, one of the first things that we did when we came on board was to really think about our brand. What is the Vegancuts brand? What does the Vegancuts brand represent? And then really understanding our customers. So we spent a lot of time talking with our customers, understanding their lifestyle. And then your ideal goal is that your brand should match exactly what your customer's brand is. So like, for example, if I know that Mary is my customer and Mary's lifestyle is she's on the go, she's this kind of age range, she has a certain type of lifestyle, then on top of that, she has a certain set of values. So these are the values that define who Mary is. Then ideally a brand should also be able to say, well, these are the values that we as a brand have, and those values match up to our customers' values. And so then now it becomes much easier for Mary to be able to connect with Vegancuts because our values align. So especially in the plant-based space, in the vegan space, it is a much more emotional audience. It is a much more values, mission-driven audience. And so we have to really understand that and make sure that our brand aligns with that. So we spent a lot of time really rebranding, and we went through a major rebrand. We did a new website, even new logo, new packaging, new way of thinking about how we interact with our customers and talk with them. So that was one of the major things that we ended up doing.
Yeah, I just want to add that, eventually, even though the site or the company had started as sort of providing products, and there was a lot of content that was also part of the company, and that eventually that just became a transactional company. So even when we came in, the effort has been to sort of go more towards content, not just provide value in terms of products, but even just beyond that. In terms of whether it's, learning more about the vegan lifestyle or just, in that space, what more can we give our customers? We just don't want to be a transactional company where you come and you buy and you leave.
Yeah, so I think the first couple of years have been really focused a little less on product, but more on brand, as well as internally within our team. We're making a lot of cultural shift now to become a growth-focused company, and so there's a lot of focus as well on our team and how do we work through a culture change in the team. So actually, our first year and a half, we're really focused around some of these foundational pieces. When your foundation is right, that's when now the innovation can start. So we're finally at that place where now we're innovating, and I can talk about some of the new things that we have that we're working through. But it's always one thing that I would always caution is when you're a business, you want to make sure that your foundations are right. That'll help you scale eventually, rather than focusing first on innovation without having your foundation of brand, who you are, your team in place, and culture in the team in place.
Was there ever a time where you were struggling to find products to fill your boxes with, or has it always been easy, or have new companies popped up recently that have made it easier for you? I'm assuming. there might be some change in the last 2 years that you've seen.
Yeah, do you want to take that first, Runa?
Yeah, I can say some, and then you can add on, Ashish. But I think over the years, we've only seen more brands sort of, or companies, even though a lot of them tend to be smaller niche companies. A lot of people are driving into the space of not just vegan, but plant-based, dairy-free. And so, and not just smaller companies, but even the bigger brands now want a piece of this market because they're seeing, this is growing and growing fast. So, I wouldn't say it's easy to fill a box. It requires a lot of effort. Every month, like in our snack box itself, we have over 10 products. And then now you add beauty, another 5, and another 5 makeup. So every month filling these is a lot of effort. It really requires us to go out and find. But there are companies that are constantly coming up. I have to say, during the pandemic, if there's anything that we've seen a challenge really is more so with shipping and delays and getting people on time, or sometimes vendors or like our brand partners have not been able to find their materials to like make their products. So maybe there's some sort of delays and issues there, but for the most part, I think it's very encouraging to see more and more brands wanting to come into this space.
And just to add on to that, I mean, every year we probably know every single brand that's in the vegan space. Like our procurement team is talking with thousands of companies literally every year, and many of them work with us on a recurring basis. And then there's always these new brands, both large and small, that keep on coming back or keep on getting established into the space. So even though from at least the stats that we're seeing, it's not necessarily that more people are becoming vegan 100%, but a lot more people are choosing one meal a week or consciously more aware of what products they choose. So now, from some of the stats we've seen, almost a third of Americans are proactively choosing plant-based to incorporate plant-based into their diets, which is huge. And because of that, so many brands, large and small, are coming into the space. And but also, just to add another perspective, is that even though we do talk with thousands of brands, we have an extremely intense curation process. So it's something that we actually don't talk about enough, but we probably should. But before any box is curated, every single product, firstly, that we decide to put in a box, firstly has to be functionally really good, like taste really good, or if it's a beauty product or cosmetic product, it has to work really well. And then secondly, we go through so much background work to ensure that the product not only is vegan, but the whole manufacturing process is vegan and cruelty-free. And we get a lot of certifications from each of the suppliers to make sure that it's from sustainably sourced ingredients. And, all of that ends up excluding a lot of products as well. And so that whole curation aspect that goes in, then it's almost as if a product gets into a Vegancuts box, it could be certified 100% vegan. Like you could have a badge or a stamp on it, that says 100% vegan, cruelty free. But something we don't really talk about much. But so that does make some of our procurement much more challenging.
Which category are you seeing the most growth in, and like what demographic is growing the biggest and the largest right now?
That's an interesting question. I think both the beauty space and the food space are very different. Yeah. In the food space, there is even the way that we approach brands our brands approach us is very different. Our boxes are a discovery box, so it's a way for new brands to get into a very relevant audience, and we have across all our channels like over 500,000 people that are connected with us. And so a lot of brands come to us, proactively reach out to us to try and connect with that audience. So the biggest areas of growth, I think food is, a lot has been done in the food space already in terms of bringing awareness to plant-based and cruelty-free. In the beauty space, I think that's more, it's only happening now. So there's still a lot more work to be done in bringing awareness about cruelty-free and non-toxic and cleaner ingredients. Yeah. And so there is this big transition that's happening in the beauty makeup space from people not really caring so much about what goes in their products to now they're becoming much more aware of ingredients, of manufacturing process, of being cruelty-free. So there is that transition happening. But at the same time, because that mindset shift has already taken place in the food space, now brands are, really coming in a massive way into the food space. So like even if you go to Whole Foods now, if you look at the vegan butter aisle, or sorry, just the general butter aisle, you'll see in many Whole Foods, half of the butter products are vegan, which maybe just a couple of years ago is very, very small number. So there is,
or even the fact that in Walmart now you find, I always think like Walmart is the quintessential sort of last thing
mass market.
like last thing you'll find is vegan. So that itself tells you, how things are changing.
Yeah, in the food space specifically, the biggest growth areas are in refrigerated meat replacements.
Yeah.
Or alternatives to dairy replacement. So the largest dollar spend area is really dairy replacements. And then the fastest growing, though, is meat replacements. So those are probably the two fastest areas in the plant-based space in food.
And I think with beauty, it's more, I think the focus is more than, I think the awareness for being cruelty-free is really, I think, coming more front and center, but also emphasis on cleaner beauty, cleaner ingredients on what people are using. So I think that's a bigger push, I would say. Yeah.
How are you approaching the future, given that you have, other entrants in the space, and are you rethinking who your customer is? Are you mostly right now serving vegans, and are you now aiming at flexitarians?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. So firstly, our audience up till now has been predominantly vegan. 85% of our customers are vegan. But the largest growth areas in the demographics is in people who are not 100% vegan, but are choosing more and more plant-based or cruelty-free in their beauty routine or in their food routine. And so our messaging is now we're actually going through this messaging like a tweak to our branding. One of the areas that we're working on, which relates to this, is we've seen a massive uptick, and maybe Runa can talk more about that, in corporations now thinking more about inclusivity. Inclusivity meaning even in the food that you eat, vegan is more inclusive than meat-based. Like it just captures more people. So as it relates to that, now just changing our messaging towards, even if you're not vegan, here's a box that even non-vegans love. A vegan box that non-vegans love, or that even if you're not vegan, plant-based can still taste great. A lot of people feel that if you choose vegan products, it's going to have suboptimal taste profiles, or it's not going to work as well. But to show people that actually, if you choose vegan or plant-based, you're not sacrificing anything. You may even have an enhanced experience. So I think that's been one of our main focuses now as we're thinking about the demographics changing or the environment changing, is to start letting people know that they're not sacrificing choosing vegan.
It's not a compromise, or it's not like an afterthought to have or to choose vegan. There's just so much great stuff. Even so many, like we may work with a lot of non-vegan people in our industry, and when they try our products, they're like, wow, I didn't expect that. And so, this perception of changing, and really one of the big intentions for us is to really let people know you're not compromising. You might actually make your non-vegan friends jealous. I mean, really, there is such great stuff out there, whether in terms of taste or functionality of products. There's really, and I think what really lightens my heart is, whenever, even if it's the one time in your life you make that choice, there is a positive impact for this, both in the world within you and around you. So just knowing that, and if we are able to sort of bring light to that, that would be amazing.
Can you talk about your marketplace? What led you to start that? And are you driving more revenue from there than your subscription box, or how is that?
Yeah, actually, the marketplace is still a small. It's not a big focus area of our company at the moment, but it includes several brands that have been featured in our boxes in the past, and it is a dropship marketplace. So we're not housing inventory, but we're when orders come through, the brand themselves ships it. But we are in this next coming year going to be putting a lot more focus because we get hundreds of testimonials every month from our customers. And many of them say that, I discovered this one product in your box. I love it, but it's not in my local grocery store or um, in my local beauty store. And even if I go online, like if it's say a bag of chips, I can only buy 40 of them, a case of 40. I don't really want 40, and so it becomes very difficult for them to buy more of what they discover. And we are a discovery box. We're a way for people to discover new things. So we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on completely rethinking through our marketplace. We've got some really cool ideas around it to try and just give what our customers want. So people do love to discover and find new things. They do get bored of eating the same stuff or trying the same products again and again. They want to try new things, and they discover that that some of these brands that we're working with are coming up with very innovative ways of doing things that have been done in the past. Innovative ways that are healthier, cleaner, taste better, feel better, and they need a way to be able to buy more of that. So we will be at the moment, marketplace is a small focus, but it's going to be as we work through a couple of new initiatives. It's going to be our next big initiative.
Did you want to comment, Runa?
No, not really. I mean, I was just thinking, yeah, that's, one of the things in the pipeline that we're working towards. One of the newer things that we're working towards. No.
What is some advice you would give to an entrepreneur looking to start a subscription business and maybe specifically related to products? Have you learned any lessons that you can share?
Absolutely, so many. Maybe one of them is, since a subscription box is consumer facing, you have to first start with understanding your audience. What is the audience that I want to go after that will be relevant to the idea that I have for my subscription box? And then how do I engage with that audience? Can I already start engaging with that audience before I even start selling to them? Mm-hmm. It's all about, a subscription box is all about community. It's one part is about ensuring you give the right products, but the other is that you really form a connection with that audience. And so what are the ways that I can engage with that audience? Where does that audience hang out? Do they hang out on social? Do they hang out on forums? Do they hang out on other, like maybe in events, local events? Where do they hang out, and how do I connect with them in that space? So really trying to understand your audience and connect with them, really start connecting with them early on. Second would be that what is a technology platform that I want to utilize to start a subscription box? There are many different technologies that exist. So there are some that are off the shelf, like Amazon has a big subscription box offering. The other big website is Cratejoy. So both of these, Amazon and Cratejoy, they have their own nice ecosystems. They have everything set up for you. They charge a commission for you to do that. And then third is, of course, you create your own website. If you create your own website, you have to be able to drive your audience to that website. And of course, there's going to be less, you're not paying a third-party fees, but now you've got all the work that you do to maintain your own website. But it is going to be important for you to build a community to have your own website. So I think choosing the right technology platform for you is extremely important. So those are two different areas, audience and technology platform. And then third is really understanding what is happening in the market landscape. What is changing? What are some of the evolutions that are happening? Where are the different growth areas in the market landscape? If you bring out a product that is not in alignment with what are the growth areas in the business, it's almost like, you often hear, if there's a rising wave, everybody who's in that wave is going to benefit. All the surfers in that wave are going to benefit. If you're in a declining wave, like let's say you want to launch a new laptop brand, that overall is a stagnant or declining wave. And so the only way for you to succeed is to take market share from another customer, from another brand. If you're in a rising wave, then everybody's going to benefit in some way. So not only are you going to have to work with understanding your competitors and how you differentiate from your competitors, but you also will get the benefit of just that rising wave.
Runa, did you want to?
I think specifically, if I had to give more advice towards the subscription space, I think what I would say is, you need to build a much greater relationship with your customer, with your subscriber, because it's not a one-time purchase. It's a longer-term relationship for which you have to invest a lot more. I think really, so therefore some of these points make also sense. You really understand your audience and really get to know them better and build that relationship. That's really key for them to want to keep coming back to you.
That's a really good point. Yeah, but even like, let's say a subscription box, people would expect that they're getting a lot more value out of it because they're investing in you as a customer. As a customer, they're giving you your credit card, you're keeping their credit card, and that credit card is valuable. Like it's a relationship. When somebody gives you a credit card, they're giving you their trust. They're giving you some part of their relationship with you. So you have to always make sure that you're providing them more value than if they were to just buy an item from you one time. So that even is in the customer service that you provide, it has to be really deeply engaging customer service experience that they have. Or even like for example, we're always constantly surveying our customers. What do they think of the last box? How can we improve? How can we do better? And taking that feedback directly in the way that we curate our boxes. So that long-term relationship really has to be fostered, and the trust that relates with that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great audience questions, so I only have two quick ones. One, can you talk about the business development program that you launched?
Oh yeah, we did this maybe a few months ago. We launched a new program, and this is purely just because we are a mission-based company. We want to do good. We want to do good things, and even if it means no benefit. Actually, this is something that we didn't even want to promote or talk about at all in any way. We just wanted to do it just for helping entrepreneurs. So the way it started is we connect with thousands of brands every year, and we were realizing that there's very few Black-owned vegan businesses out there relative to the percentage of America that is Black vegan. And as we started talking with some of our mentors, we started talking with entrepreneurs and leaders in this space. We realized that there are real inequities that exist in the Black community. And there's so many different ways that you can approach that. And one of the ways is to focus on entrepreneurs in that community. And how can you help them? How can you assist them in their evolution, in their own growth? And so through that understanding, this business development program started. We're calling it the Spotlight Program. And it's a 4-month cohort. We've brought in we've done a bunch of interviews of people Black-owned businesses that have applied. 5 of them were selected, and they're taken through this 4-month program where we talk through all kinds of different topics. So we bring in experts both from within Vegancuts as well as outside of Vegancuts. We go through a lot of areas like marketing, product operations, supply chain, negotiations, procurement, all different aspects.
Hiring.
Even how you create a culture in your team. So all different aspects around business development. And then in addition to that, we give them 100% free access to our marketplace. They get to list their products there, and every dollar that comes through goes directly to them, and we absorb all the fees. So it's a fully free program for them just to help in their growth and evolution.
Yeah, and also the intention is we hope to evolve this program to other communities that we can over time. So maybe the first cohort was the Black-owned entrepreneurs. Maybe the next time it's women-owned or whatever. So the idea is to sort of keep engaged within different communities and allow them, like sharing of knowledge. I like to think of more rather than, because it's not like we know everything. We ourselves, in fact, through these programs, learn ourselves. So it's more a sharing of knowledge and resource rather than some kind of mentorship. Everyone comes with their strengths, and we all learn from each other.
And I think as any business does better, then that just goes on and improves their community. it even, if a business does better, then that business owner becomes a role model for others and can help pull others up as well. So it's a multiplicative effect.
Yes, it's awesome that you're doing that. So for my final question, what is a podcast or a book that you think entrepreneurs need to listen to or read?
Oh,
maybe I can go first. To be honest, everything that I read or listen is purely focused on what are my needs at that moment, or in the upcoming needs. So, for example, I've been learning all about SEO, and so I just look to see what are the different SEO resources for me available or podcasts available, and I just learn all about that. And or if I'm learning about marketing funnels, how do you create a marketing funnel? I'll just look for books or podcasts just around that. So I think for me, it's all about what is needed for me to help in specific challenges that I know are either coming up or are here right now.
Got it.
I have to honestly second that. And personally, I'm not much of a reader. Any little time that I have off, I really like to take a moment off and, sort of reconnect to my own self, because I need that moment to pause. But if not, I'm always sort of learning based on whatever I need to know. So I don't know if we have really any great.
Sorry, kind of a cop-out answer, but
yeah, we're always reading something or the other, but I don't definitively have like a great answer for you.
No, that's fine. Books and podcasts solving problems that you're facing at the moment. That makes sense.
Mm.
All right, let's get into these questions from the audience. Question from Akash. What subscription model product / niche would you advise starting in India to someone who wanted to do that?
In India, actually, we haven't done a lot of research in that area, but plant-based and vegan is just starting to get into people's mindset in India. It was actually interesting. We often go there. A lot of our families in India. Last year, when we went to India, we went to Runa's hometown, which is called Mangalore. It's a coastal town in the south, and we saw a big.
But just to put some context there, most people from my hometown are far from being even vegetarian. Mostly people are more meat eaters. Although vegetarianism is pretty much a part of the diet, but they're mostly meat eaters.
Yeah, so we saw a big billboard that said, India's first vegan ice cream. So there's a local brand there that is super well known for ice cream, and they're now creating a vegan product. And so we started talking with some of our family members there, and they're asking, "Oh, what are we doing?" And we told them we're in a vegan brand. They're vegan. What's that?
Yeah.
So that word vegan doesn't exist yet in most people, except maybe in Bombay or Delhi or some of the big cities. But outside of that, that word vegan is not in people's mindset yet. But vegetarian is very much. Half of India's population is vegetarian. So if I was to recommend a subscription business there, I would definitely focus not on the word vegan. I would probably focus on the word vegetarian, because that's already in people's mindset, or plant-based and health. A lot of people are thinking about health and healthy. Healthy has not typically been in people's mindset in India. Like ingredients, like having cleaner ingredients has not been in people's mindset. Most of the products you see off the shelf in India have all kinds of crazy, not good for you ingredients. So even if you were to focus on health or nutrition,
I think health and nutrition is probably a really good space to explore in India, because I think that mindset is changing now.
And at the same time, of course, you'd want to make sure that all your products are vegan, but market it in terms of health or nutrition or plant-based. And then when it's almost like a subtle way of getting people into this movement of veganism without having to say this word that a lot of people don't even understand in India yet.
Awesome. David asks, do you collect or sell the data that you collect from your customers back to the brand?
No, we do not. We're very clear on that. One thing we do is every month, every box, we do take surveys from customers on what they liked or didn't like. And so we kind of extrapolate some of that information and just take out exactly some of the things that they say to help provide value to some of the brands. Like, for example, there was a beauty product that was featured. This actually happened many times. A beauty product featured in our brands, in our box, and a lot of people said that they didn't like a certain property of that product. So that feedback we actually gave to the brand, and the brand ended up reformulating their whole product based on this feedback, and that ended up being so valuable to them. So when they eventually launched their product to mass market, they already had valuable customer feedback, but we never share any of our information. I think that's something that any brand you need to be very cognizant of, is that you need to have trust with your customers, and your customers are giving you their trust. So you have to always be worthy of their trust.
Thank you. How do you find suppliers for your products?
So two ways. One is we have a ton of outreach. So all the time, every day we get a bunch of different brands, beauty, food brands that write to us, especially up and coming new brands that write to us. And then secondly, we just have, being around 10 years, we have over 20,000 companies that over the years we've connected with, and many of them we keep on working with again and again. So we actually know for many of these brands, what is their product life cycle looking like? What are the new things that they're coming up with in the next year? And they share that with us because they want to partner with us when they do brand launches. So we do have these two different ways of approaching.
And just going on social media, just keeping up, reading. You constantly hear about these newer brands coming up with new products.
So for an up and coming business, I would recommend a few things. One is, if you're trying to cold reach a company, writing to their contact us form on their website usually is not that beneficial, because it goes through their whole rigmarole, depending on how big their company is, goes through their whole rigmarole of people. If you write to their social, usually on social, whoever is managing social is usually very prompt. So if you write to their social and
like private DM them,
that usually is a faster way. Like if you ask, who is your marketing contact or who is your procurement contact, they usually write much faster. And then any other ways? Yeah, I guess just those.
And there are actually platforms that where you can just go and source just different kinds of brands and different kind of
one
industry.
is RangeMe that we've recently started using. RangeMe, and there's a few competitors to RangeMe. Those are nice websites. You, as a retailer, you get free access to them, and they have thousands of brands and companies, and you can reach out to them directly through that. So that's also a good place to connect.
Awesome. How do founders get their products in your box?
How do founders get?
You can reach out to us. They can write to us.
Yeah. So the support at vegancuts.com. If you write into there, we'll get you to the right person within.
Or you can write to Runa at Vegancuts or Ashish at Vegancuts.
Yeah, those are our emails. Ashish at Vegancuts or Runa at Vegancuts. So
awesome.
we're always happy to connect with new brands.
All right. Next question. How do you identify and research your customer brand? When you were earlier speaking, you had talked about your customers having a brand. How do you research that?
Yeah, so there's probably different ways. One is, if you already have a reasonable idea of the product that you want to launch, then you'd want to try and understand, well, who is the relevant person that would want to buy this product? So really defining that. And if you have some idea, okay, so the person that I think is going to buy this is maybe this kind of age range, is maybe male or female, maybe lives in these kind of geographies, or has a certain type of lifestyle. Now, if you know that, then you can start thinking, okay, well, where does this person hang out, or how do I connect with that person? So, like, for example, if you know that it's going to be somebody who's very much vegan, that's a really deep part of their life, then you can go and find places to connect with them. Like, there are vegan forums. Like on Reddit, one of the biggest forums online is on Reddit for vegans. So sometimes you can actually post on there. We've done that even in the past ourselves. We've posted a question on that forum asking, well, I'm thinking about this kind of product, and I was just hoping to poll people's idea. What do you think of these 3 features of that product? And you'll get people that write to you there. And the other is, you can connect with other companies. Like, let's say, for example, if you were to connect with a company like us, we've been in this space for a long time, and we'd be happy to share some of our insight or knowledge on what we found. So even talking with other entrepreneurs or founders in this area, they have a lot of insight because they themselves have connected with audience in a deep way. So I would really try and understand your audience, and then where do they hang out, and then try and pull people that way. There's a lot of Facebook groups as well, for example, or other Instagram influencers, and you can talk with them as well. So a lot of networking, talking, and then posting questions to relevant places.
Thank you. We have a question from CC, which I think you touched upon earlier, but I think it was like, what software platforms work best for organizing a subscription box? You talked about JoyCrate, I believe, or CrateJoy.
CrateJoy is one. Amazon is another. As soon as you get into them, you're now in a very crowded space, and there are pros and cons with each one. For example, with Amazon, you do not have ability to connect with a customer afterwards. You don't get access to their email address. And so if you were, email is one of the most powerful tools that most subscription businesses have, or most e-commerce businesses have, and you don't get that ability with Amazon. With CrateJoy, you do get that ability. You get access to every customer's email address, so you can create an email community around that. But they are very easy, quick ways to get started. Another is if you want to build your own website, Shopify, of course, is a very natural one, or WooCommerce, WordPress, which connects with WooCommerce, is now a very evolved platform to use, and it's free. And so you can create your own website through that, and you can get plugins that help you have a recurring subscription business. So if you were to build your own website, I would actually recommend WordPress tied with WooCommerce, and then having a plugin that does recurring purchases.
Awesome. And for my last question today, what's the most exciting thing that you're working on right now?
Oh, I think firstly, I would love to say that if what we've seen, especially with the companies that we've been involved with, is when you don't innovate, you die. And so what we've seen, especially with the pandemic and the way companies now are shifting to a more work from home model, just the way they connect and reward their team members has changed. So we've seen a lot of interest come up from corporations wanting to connect with their customers, with their employees and their team members. And so we've just started the corporate box, where you can basically, it's a way for companies now to physically connect in a virtual environment, to their team. So, the companies can order snack or beauty boxes as like a gift for their team members, or like a pick-me-up, or actually even in virtual conferences like these, organizers send their attendees, snacks as just like a fun addition, for their conference day. So yeah, this is actually something that's been really exciting for us to work on, and we have a few more.
We have many more the second one that we'll be working on, which I alluded to earlier, is customers always writing to us saying, I want more of what I discovered, and I need an easy way to get that. So we're going to be working on some innovative way of doing that, and so that's going to be coming up this early next year. We also have a whole new other business area that we've been working through, which is currently under wraps, but next year I'll be launching.
Yeah.
So we're really excited. We have the platform now, the branding, the right team, the right culture within our team. So all that foundation work has been done, and so now it's the fun part of innovating and doing some really cool things.
Awesome, and we look forward to hearing about that in the future. Runa and Ashish, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think what Ashish and I would love to say, firstly, Noah, thank you so much for bringing people in this field together. I heard one or two talks myself, and I learned about somebody I'd already known. I learned a whole new dimension about them. So just having something like this is fantastic. So I really commend the work you've done. It's been enlightening for us, and thank you so much. It was fun talking to you.
Yeah, and I would just, maybe as a parting thing, I would just say, we've ourselves been in the corporate world, we've been in the entrepreneurial world, we've seen both aspects of how things work. The entrepreneurial journey is not for everybody, but for the people that choose to go down that path, the forget about money, but the learning, the growth, the things the challenges that you'll face, that's what being a human is all about. Like human flourishing, being an entrepreneur. I really feel like you'll just have experiences that you may never otherwise have the chance to experience. So it's an amazing path to be down, and thank you for encouraging and guiding people through this summit.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Runa. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.